My name is Gary Edwards. I was born in Spokane and I lived in Coeur d'Alene's off and on since 1947. I went through all 12 years of school here, thanks to Coeur d'Alene School District 271 for the benefit of their fine education. And then I went to the University of Idaho and transferred as a junior to the Indiana University, where I graduated with a degree from the School of Music. So my main passion is music, so of course to pay the rent I became a social worker for 40 years. And also have been working in civil rights as an activist for the last 55 years. If you may recall, one of my cases went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, where we won our lawsuit against the city of Coeur d'Alene regarding the Aryan March. Well, thank you. But this isn't about me. This is about when I was going to school. Unfortunately, we never learned much about the natives who lived here before us for hundreds of generations. And so when I was like 9 years old, I'd go down to the Coeur d'Alene City Park, and at the 4th of July, they would have teepees set up by the railroad tracks near the present HREI building. And I could hang out there all day and watch the natives making beadwork, drumming, dancing, singing, and the little kids playing. And I thought, man, wouldn't that be great? You know, not have to go to school, and you could go hunt and fish every day and learn all about woodcraft and things like that. And so I had a fantasy like that when I was growing up. The other thing that I picked up as I was growing up is that I hate bullies. And so I've tried to do what I can to fight against bullies for most of my life, people picking on weaker people. And around 1974, when they had the expo in Spokane, the International Exposition, I was at the Native Museum of Art, and I saw a painting on the wall, and it was called The Hanging of Qualchan. And for some reason, the image stuck with me for the next 40 years, and I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. But basically, the painting showed that Colonel Wright had offered Ojai, Qualchan's father, a safe passage and release him as a hostage if his son Qualchan would turn himself in. And I'll tell you the rest of the story later on. So in 2012, I started researching this subject seriously, and then I wrote the opera that is on your table, at the head of the table. You can pass that around if you like. And I wrote that opera in 5 months and finished it in 2016. And on April 5th, this year, Eastern Washington University is going to perform excerpts from this opera as well as other composers' operas at 7 p.m. at the Music Building in Eastern. So what I want you to do now is put yourself in the frame of mind, because the story that I'm going to tell is from the Indians' perspective. You know, there's two sides to every conflict. So I want you to pretend like this is a longhouse and we're sitting around the campfires at night and we're telling stories. And I'm going to tell you the story as if I was a native. And I know there's concerns about cultural expropriation, but it turned out that this is a story that's intrigued me for years, and it's a story that I'm happy to tell. And my passion for the last 6 years has been telling stories, untold stories, so that people can have their stories heard. How would you feel if you were Qualchan and people moved into your area and said they were going to change your way of life, your religion, your language, your customs, where you could live, how many people you could marry, you know, the rules, everything would be totally changed. I wonder how many people in here would accept that, and how many people would say, well, I think we should put up a fight. I know what I would do. Qualchan was getting to be that age where he was starting to think romantically about this one lady named Wistocks. And she liked him, and they, you know, were friends for a long time. But every time that they started to make a little progress in their romance, there was a conflict or a battle, and Qualchan had to go off and fight to protect his people. So that, you know, is not unheard of even to this day. So anyway, in 1853, Governor Stevens was appointed to be the first governor of the Washington Territory, and his duties were to set up a territorial government, complete a railroad survey, and make peace with the tribe of the Pacific Northwest. So Governor Stevens announced that the Indians have to sell their Americans basically for a pittance, or he would kill them all and take the land for nothing. I'm not an expert or a lawyer or anything, but I understand that contracts made under force are generally not valid. But this was the approach at the time. And so the tribes got together and talked about the ultimatum and tried to figure out what to do about it, how to respond, and there was different opinions on multiple sides. And Qualchan had formed a confederacy of 12 tribes ranging all over Washington, the northern part of Oregon, the western part of Washington, and the eastern part of Washington into Idaho. The tribes were, the Spokane tribe, the Coeur d'Alene tribe, the Caldwell tribe, the Umatilla tribe, and some western Washington tribes. There was this confederacy, and Qualchan was a great orator. He had a way with words and a way to convince people of things. So at one of his councils with his confederated tribes, he made a speech. We wish to be left alone in the lands of our forefathers, whose bones lie in the sandhills and along the trails. But a pale-faced stranger has come from a distant land and sends word to us that we must give up our country as he wants it for the white man. Where can we go? There's no place left. There's only a single mountain that separates us from the big salt water of the setting sun. Our fathers from the hunting grounds of the other world are looking down on us today. Let us not make them ashamed. My people, the Great Spirit has his eyes upon us. He will be angry if, like cowardly dogs, we give up our lands to the whites. Better to die like brave warriors on the battlefield than to live among our vanquishers, despised. Our young men and women would speedily become debauched by their firewater, and we should perish as a race. Qualchan was confronted with the wailings of the old men and the women in the tribe, and they were dying right and left because of the winter and the snow and starvation and all that. And he vowed that he would never surrender or quit fighting the Americans while he was alive. Everything that I'm talking about basically has come from a book called Qualchan, Last Hero of the Yakima Nation by A.J. Splawn, S-P-L-A-W-N. All right, if you look in front of you, there's a paper called an article about the fundraising campaign. I'm affiliated with a fiscal sponsor called FracturedAtlas.org, and they are authorized to take money from donations, and I'm calling it my Give Me Five campaign. Basically, I'm asking my friends to give me $5, and I'm asking organizations and groups to give me $500 at least. And this goes into this nonprofit. You can deduct it from your taxes probably. And so when I raise enough money, I'm going to produce or find a local theatrical group to produce the Qualchan opera. It's 2 hours long, and what I want to do is I have the mission. I want to spread the untold stories of how the actual transition of cultures took place so that people understand that there were two sides to this. And it has the website FracturedAtlas.org on this little sheet that I passed out.
The inside out.
Look out, go away.